Good evening. With 63 members present out of a possible 100-person body, I can call this meeting to order. I'm Krista McNamara, your Darien Town Clerk. Welcome back from the summer break. Before handing it over to Seth, I was asked to provide an update on the status of the ballot for the RTM offices for the November 4th municipal election. I'm going to go over a little bit of the background so everybody is comfortable and familiar with the process, how we get there, as it is laid out in Appendix B of the Town Code. Again, as you know, Darien is a charter town. The RTM is actually a product of the Darien Charter. Not every town in Connecticut of the 169 is actually governed by a charter. Darien is one of them. So with the Appendix B and the instructions set forth, the first step is to look at how many seats are going to be available for this coming term, for the 25-26 term. How many seats are allocated across the 6 districts? That's a function of the number provided by the registrar of voters. The registrar calculates how many electors are in the 6 districts across the town, and that's a percentage of the whole. John Vesey could probably give a lesson in this because he was very involved with this in his prior role. So with the new allocation, the breakdown will be as follows, as outlined also in your packet. District 1 will now have 15 seats, which is down a seat from last term. District 2 will have 16 seats, which is unchanged. District 3 will have 17 seats, unchanged. District 4 will have 16 seats, unchanged. District 5 will have 19 seats. So District 5 is going up a seat for representation in the RTM as a factor of the number of electors that are distributed across the town. And District 6 will be unchanged at 17 seats. So again, first step, how many seats? Second step, well, who's still midterm? We're not kicking anybody out. If you were elected last year to a 2-year term, you are still seated. So the open seats are just a function of how many seats are allocated, how many seats are currently being filled by those with a 2-year term, equals vote for up to, or how many open seats there are. Okay, that's the first step. Second step is to look at candidates. So where do we have candidates to fill those seats? Again, it's a three steps or 3 options to become a candidate for the RTM. The first step is as an incumbent. As you all know, for those of you who have been on the RTM, you notify the town clerk in writing that you're interested in re-upping. The second option is as a petitioning candidate. Some of you may have done that at some point where you circulated a petition to gather 25 signatures of electors in your district. That process is available actually for any office on the ballot, from first selectman down to RTM member. The third option, this is where everyone should focus, well, most of the districts, for write-in candidates. The write-in candidate, again, an option available to any office from first selectman to RTM, is where the candidate must submit paperwork to my office. For the office of RTM, the deadline is October 16th. October 16th is the deadline to indicate your interest in serving as a write-in candidate. And that's exactly what it says. You petition around or you talk to your neighbors, and the electors must physically write your name in. That candidate cannot win, though, unless they've actually submitted the paperwork first. So again, we've got your seats. We've got our 3 methods by which you can join the RTM: incumbent, petition, write-in. You combine the 2, and that's where we have it as follows. In District 1, it will vote for up to 8 seats. District 2, vote for up to 8. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a step back. District 1, vote for 8. In District 1, there was 1 write-in candidate who I understand has indicated she is withdrawing her write-in status. So there will be 8 candidates running for 8 seats in District 1. In District 2, again, vote for up to 8, but there are only 7 candidates in District 2, 1 short. In District 3, Vote for up to 15. And there are 10 candidates there, 5 short. District 4, vote for up to 13 with 11 candidates running, so 2 short. District 5, vote for up to 12 with 6 candidates running, 6 short. In District 6, vote for up to 13. There are 12 candidates running, so 1 short. So if anyone was doing the math, as it stands right now, the RTM will underrepresent the town of Darien by 15 seats, or 85 people will be sworn in as of Election Day. So that, put a footnote on that. Is that indicative of the past? I don't know. I have not done the research, but I can tell you where it stands now. 15 seats short. I do want to make 2 notes regarding Election Day. So that's the process to bring us to November 4th. On November 4th, a caveat, or a note, again as stated in Appendix B. 1, everybody running for office for the RTM must receive 25 votes to be elected. So if you don't hit that benchmark, you're not a viable candidate. Now that's interesting because you can caucus on and receive as few as 8 votes. So I don't know if that's a footnote. Is this the appropriate path to set it as 25 votes when someone can caucus in with 8? Perhaps something to consider. The second point I want to make, so nobody's surprised after Election Day, is regard to the term you will receive. Again, in Appendix B, you can read it there, but just because you're on the ballot and just because you get 25 votes does not mean you're going to serve a 2-year term. As Appendix B says, only the bare majority of the total allotted seats will receive 2-year terms. If that makes sense. So I will contact those. The top vote getters will get the 2-year terms. After those seats are filled, then I will allocate 1-year terms to the remaining winners. So that will help in the distribution, so we're not looking at 13 people up and then 2 and 13 and 2 for a body that's 15. Does anyone have any questions on this process?
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's here. If you go to the line, I'm just saying thank you to everyone who's here and who's participating. I know that sounds a little hard, but thank you. We want everybody back. Get your friends if it's open.
Patty, could you, because nobody can hear you on the tape.
Patty Baumgartner, District 1. Thank you to our district for being full. We actually had 9, but when the 9th person write-in found out she was going to be a write-in, she didn't want to take away from anyone already on our district, which was actually very thoughtful. So she'll probably be first one up if any of us decide we're going on a hike and we don't make it back. That's me. But actually, no, I just want to say thank you. And thank you, Krista, for going through all those details. But there's a lot of new people that are here as well that were recently caucused in. And so thank you for being on the RTM. We appreciate you coming back. And there's a lot of districts that need help, like District 5, because they've picked up an extra person from our district. So please reach out to anybody in District 5. Even if you're in District 4 or 3, I've helped a number of districts fill their spots. And so, you know, we want to be able to represent, we want 100 people representing our district across the board. So that's it. Thanks, and go RTM.
Yes. So again, District 3 will be 5 short, and District 5 will be 6 people short. So again, maybe something to be thinking about of this body, just some little footnotes. I've also recommended in conversations with the moderator and with town council regarding the distribution, the scenario where, for example, District 1 is at 15. Appendix B is not clear as to how that is calculated if you look at rounding. You can't have more than 100 people, and when you're rounding numbers, it doesn't always work out that way. So I've asked and recommended that TGSNA take a look at this process, take a look at Appendix B again, to make sure that the language matches what this body intends, because we interpreted it, but I think it could be clearer. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but again, October 16th, write in every district except for District 1. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Without objection, I will accept the agenda. There's not any objections? Okay. The Rules Committee wanted to take a moment to remember Frank Kemp. The Rules Committee has 13 members, and we were short one at the last meeting, and we all just felt, I don't know, just a sense of loss. But then again, I think appreciation for all the things that Frank did in serving this body over a long period of time. He was the chair of TGSNA, and he also was a member of the Rules Committee, and his baritone voice could be heard regularly in that meeting. It's what makes it so much fun debating in the Rules Committee. Most recently, he was involved in redoing Appendix B along with Jack Davis, and it took them over a year to do it, and it is a tribute to Frank and his steadiness that got it through a very complex procedure to get it all done. And we can all be glad that it was done, because Appendix B used to read that we do things in a given way, and we really didn't. So Frank brought it up to steam. So in I think, wanting to honor Frank and honor other distinguished members of the RTM posthumously, the Rules Committee was searching for a way, and they wanted to form a committee of the Rules Committee to find a way to honor people of distinction who have served this body. So Patty Baumgardner agreed to chair that, and we'll just take it apace and see if we can find a way that would somehow permanently remember the servants of this body. But for now, why don't we take a moment and just a moment to remember and think about Frank and his contribution to our body. Amen. First item is to approve minutes of the June 9 meeting. Yes. Oh, excuse me, yes. I forgot that the cap was there to honor him. Yes. Thanks. I'm sorry. I forgot that was there. Next item is approving minutes of the June 9 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, and a second, please. Okay. Comments, changes? None? Ready to vote? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I hear none. Abstentions, you can give them later to the town clerk if you wish. First item on the agenda is to recommend the reappointment of Craig Junk to the 5 Mile River Commission. And it's required by state law that we recommend it as the legislative body of the town of Darien. The governor approves it. So without further ado, Adele Conniff. Thanks, Adele.
Adele Coniff, District 3, RTM Parks and Recreation Committee. I'd like to move 2518, resolution of the Representative Town Meeting of the Town of Darien, recommending the appointment of Craig Young to the 5 Mile River Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
With no objection, I'd like to waive the reading of the resolution. 2518, the 5 Mile River Commission is a state agency established by Connecticut statute with regulatory jurisdiction over the navigation, pollution, and conservation of the 5 Mile River and its drainage basin. In addition, the Commission is guided by ordinances adopted by Darien and Norwalk regarding the oversight of the river. 5 Mile River Commission monitors moorings and collects mooring usage fees, including fees for flexible use moorings. They maintain navigational markers and are involved with dredging when necessary. The Commission also reviews applications for docks and other waterfront construction activities, issuing written decisions as appropriate. There are 4 commissioners, 2 from Darien and 2 from Norwalk, who are appointed by the Governor of Connecticut. The equal representation recognizes that the river is flanked geographically on the west by Darien and on the east by Norwalk. The Commission also includes the Harbor Superintendent. At present, Norwalk is represented by Matthew Marion as chairman and Don D-E-R-E-G-T, sorry. Darien is currently represented by Craig Young and William Jessup. The Darien Board of Selectmen at its meeting on August 4th, 2025, voted unanimously to recommend the reappointment of Craig Young to the 5 Mile River Commission for a 4-year term ending on March 1st, 2029. The RTM Parks and Recreation Committee at its meeting on September 24th, 2025, voted unanimously to recommend the reappointment of Craig Young to the 5 Mile River Commission. We encourage the RTM to support this recommendation to the Governor of Connecticut for the appointment of Craig Young to the 5 Mile River Commission. Adele Coniff.
Thank you, Adele. Don't go anywhere.
I won't.
Okay. Any debate? Ready to vote? All those in favor, please rise. Opposed? And abstentions? Next item is to recommend the reappointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission. Speaking on behalf of Park and Rec, Adele Coniff.
You can tell this is my big night. Adele Coniff, District 3, RTM Parks and Recreation Committee. I'd like to move 2519, resolution of the Representative Town Meeting of the Town of Darien, recommending the appointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission. Do I have a second? Thank you. With no objection, I'd like to waive the reading of the resolution. I'm not going to repeat my report, but I will continue. 2519. The Darien Board of Selectmen at its meeting on August 4th, 2025, voted unanimously to recommend the reappointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission for a 4-year term ending on June 30th, 2029. The RTM Parks and Recreation Committee at its meeting on September 24th, 2025, voted unanimously to recommend the reappointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission. We encourage the RTM to support this recommendation to the Governor of Connecticut for the appointment of William Jessup to the 5 Mile River Commission.
Okay, debate. Any debate? Ready to vote? All in favor, please rise. Opposed? And abstentions. Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of appropriation bond authorization resolution in the amount of $9,010,200 for Pear Tree Beach Park improvements. Speaking on behalf of Park and Rec, Adele Coniff. You want to go first? All right.
Yeah, it's a bond.
Okay.
Before I start my report, I do want to say, before I start my report, I do want to say that Appendix B might have been done a little bit sooner. Frank and I didn't really enjoy going to Dutchess to have lunch as often as we did. I'm Jack Davis, District 3, F&B and RTM Finance and Budget Chair. I move Resolution 2520 appropriating $9,010,200 for costs associated with the Pear Tree Beach Park improvements and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of $10,200 to meet said appropriation. Do I have a second? I see Cheryl Russell, who's lived this forever. This committee report will cover the following areas: off-cycle capital projects and requests, total costs associated with the project, including resulting debt service costs, other issues raised by the committee, the minority report, and the majority report. A more detailed explanation of the project will be covered by the Park and Rec Committee, which will follow this report. Off-cycle requests. As someone who contributed to the January Board of Selectmen off-cycle requests guidance, this project qualifies as an accepted off-cycle project. It was discussed by both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance during the budget process and was put off-cycle as the town was awaiting the final bids to be received and reviewed, which is why it was moved to off-cycle. In fact, if you might remember, I mentioned it during the F&B overview of our budget in May. As such, this meets all of the Board of Selectmen off-cycle guidance. Second, total costs and debt service. At a high level, the costs associated with the project are as follows. Construction and dredging costs, $7,997,400. Contingency, about 8% of $635,000. Weston and Sampson Engineers, construction phase, $350,500, and the issuance of bonds, $27,800, totaling the $9,010,200. The contingency is about 8%. The settlement has already been tested and is polluted. Estimates for remediation may vary once work begins, and as such, an 8% contingency is deemed reasonable and consistent with many of our other projects. The Weston and Sampson cost for construction management is slightly less than 4.1%, consistent with other town projects. A breakdown of the construction and dredging costs at a high level with further detail from the Park and Rec Committee of what's under each is as follows. $5,275,400 of construction costs relating to demolition and cleanup, raising the parking lot, which is 83,000 square foot of asphalt for about $2 million, drainage, beach work including sand dunes, landscaping, etc. The dredging costs, including handling and disposal of materials, $2,368,000. Fixing the boat ramp, $350,000. Based upon the town's bond advisor, with the initial funding using a one-year bond anticipation note to be followed by bonding with the first 2 years of interest only and principal paydown starting in the 3 years of the bond, the incremental cost to debt service is as follows. In fiscal year 27, the cost will approximate $194,000. In fiscal year 28, that was because it's a one-year interest-only bond, which usually we get at a much lower rate than if we go to market and bond. The Board of Finance, which does control how we bond, has been, for smoothing the debt, has been doing interest-only payments for the first 2 years of our bond. And under that situation, in both fiscal year 28 and 29, the debt service will be $374,000. When we start to pay in year 30, which now has the principal amortizing over 18 years, the debt service will be $711,540. If you consider what this will affect our grand list, remember, if the grand list keeps on increasing by at least a half a basis point each year, the effect on this loan will be significantly less after year 5, as we will see normal growth of that side. I want to talk about some other things associated with this. The town has incurred and already spent funds on this project, which are not included in this appropriation request, as those appropriations were already appropriated and paid. The total for this project is approximately $272,000. $164,000 plus change, I'm going round here, was for initial project costs and design, architects. We had to get a deep approval, which took almost 2 years to get, and there's costs for that. Coastline and consulting and development, all necessary before we even start the project. About $50,000 for upgrades and building repairs, and about $59,000 for Weston and Sampson for preliminary work. Briefly, some other areas that were discussed by the committee. The committee encourages the boat club to contribute to the cost of the ramp. Now, that's not a reason to hold this up at all. This is a minor part of it, but it's something that we are requesting the selectmen to pursue. When asked by Jen Faber, it's estimated the town would save approximately 120 hours of staff time as future cleanups will decrease due to the work being completed. Now, that's without estimating how many hurricanes we have or how many rainstorms, but on average that will save at least 3 weeks of time for our staff. And the cost wasn't calculated because some of it's done in overtime. And it's not to say that they can't use it in other areas, but there is going to be staff savings here. The minority report. Typically, one gives the minority after the majority report. Such is not the case tonight. The vote not in favor was due to the high cost of the project. And make no mistake, $9 million is a lot to spend. The other points that were discussed by the committee, including the majority, was as following. Last year, F&B report during the May budget presentation that 4 to 5% increases in the mill rate should be expected. We have significant increases in our Board of Selectmen and Board of Ed operating budgets. They make up 90% of what we're spending. Debt service, which is growing, with the final tranche of Great Island being bonded in April and all of HHR yet to be bonded, and their other project, represents only 7% on the budget. At the same time, significant revenue surpluses are now accounted for, as well as a change in the tax rate. That is putting a squeeze on our capital investments. The days of nice to have deserve scrutiny. And it's not just by the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Ed, and the Board of Finance, but this body as well. That brings me to the majority report. Based upon all the information, including the conversation of where we are in debt, the increase in the mill rate, and everything else, The majority of this committee felt that this project for Pear Tree Point Beach is a need to have. As was mentioned by the Board of Finance member, this project is defending a town asset. Consistent with that statement, the committee felt that the loss of this asset will have a far greater cost to the community than financial. The Board of Finance, who also had that same conversation that we talked about, passed this appropriation and bonding of notes by a 6-to-1 margin. The F&B committee passed this resolution 13 in favor, 1 against, and recommends its passage to the full RTM. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Very thorough. The results of the voting on 2518 Young, 66 in favor, 1 abstention, and 2519 Jessup, 66 in favor, 1 abstention. Now speaking on behalf of the Park and Recreation Committee, Adele Coniff.
Adele Coniff, District 3, RTM Parks and Recreation Committee Chairman. On September 8th, 2025, the Darien Board of Selectmen voted unanimously for an appropriation and bond authorization resolution in the amount of $9,010,200 for Pear Tree Beach Park improvements. The Board of Finance approved the project on September 23rd, 2025 with a 6-to-1 vote. This project includes demolition of existing site features, new stormwater infrastructure, parking lot improvements, concrete curbing and sidewalks, boat launch ramp improvements, landscape enhancements, and restoration of existing wetlands, dredging, and other beach improvements. The process has been a lengthy one beginning in 2018 with the formation of the Pear Tree Point Beach Building Committee. The project initially included a new bathhouse, as well as the parking lot, boat ramp, beach, and wetland restoration. The bathhouse was eventually removed from the project, leaving the existing bathhouse intact. The plan for elevation of the Pear Tree Beach parking lot to ameliorate the projected rise in sea levels, along with the other infrastructure elements, was developed and submission was made for permits. During COVID, the building committee was put on hold and eventually dissolved. It took years to receive the permit from Connecticut Deep. A certificate of permission from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Connecticut Deep, was approved on October 20th, 2022, and is valid for 5 years, expiring on October 20th, 2027. The Army Corps of Engineers permit was issued on May 1, 2025, and requires work to be commenced by December 15, 2027. A report to the state for substantial improvements to town property was issued by Darien Planning and Zoning Commission on January 28, 2025, and on February 4, 2025, Darien Planning and Zoning Commission granted approval with stipulations and modifications for multiple applications for the Pear Tree project. The project required minor plan modifications, and the plans must be implemented by October 20th, 2027. Subsequently, the bid plans dated July 3rd, 2025 were reviewed and found to be consistent with the plans reviewed and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and properly reflect the Commission's conditions of approval. The project was reviewed by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance during the fiscal year 26 budget cycle. Knowing that the bid process could not be completed before the RTM voted in May on the budget, it was decided to take the funding request off cycle. The project was put out to bid in July 2025 with an opening on August 14, 2025. After review of the 2 bids, the contract was awarded to Yield Industries, LLC for $7,997,400. Total funds being requested are $9,010,200, which include contingency, construction phase engineering, and bond issuance costs. Construction is scheduled to start in or around November 3rd, 2025, with final completion scheduled for May 1, 2026. The RTM Parks and Recreation Committee met on September 24th, 2025, and reviewed the Pear Tree Beach Park improvements project. The reconstruction of the parking lot and drainage system will improve vehicular circulation, reduce flooding events, and improve water quality. The reconstruction of the boat launch will correct the pitch to improve its usability. Dredging the channel will address ongoing access issues. The restoration of the tidal wetland living shoreline will improve the tidal habitat, and the construction of an accessible picnic area will allow people of all abilities to enjoy the surroundings. Enlarging the beach and construction of vegetated buffer areas around the parking lot by the West Beach, aka Back Beach, will help absorb tidal action. The South Beach will slightly be enlarged and sidewalks will be added. The committee, with 9 of 14 members present constituting a quorum, voted unanimously in favor of 2520, appropriating $9,010,200 for costs associated with the Pear Tree Beach Park improvements and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes to meet said appropriation. We wholeheartedly encourage the RTM to support this Pear Tree Beach Park improvement project. The clock is ticking. Let's save our beach.
Thank you, Adele. Are there any other committees that wish to speak? Town officials? Comments from the body? Anyone have anything? Electors of the town? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor, please rise. Please stay for the count. Opposed, please? And abstentions? Results on 2520, Pear Tree, 63 in favor, 3 opposed, 1 abstention. There being no further business, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please rise.